to Dale, who's probably the closest one to being on his allotted time. Good morning, Coach.
Good morning, Mike.
Thanks for joining us. We are running behind schedule, as you know, and thanks for being patient with us this morning.
Oh, no problem.
What we are asking folks to do is just break down their team a little bit, offense, defense, prospects for the season, and then we'll open it up for some questions.
Okay, sounds good. Offensively, everything starts up front, and for us, that's where we feel pretty good. We have all 5 starters returning on the offensive line, 2 of them that have received some preseason accolades, so, we do feel good about the guys up front. Tight end, we did graduate a tight end, but we have another one coming back that we think has some game experience and is capable to step in, and C.J. Robertson, and we got a young player that we think is going to be very special that we redshirted last year. Our backfield, running backs right now is probably where we're the deepest. That's an area that I think we got 4 to maybe even 5 guys that can contribute. Some of them will probably contribute on the perimeter in some slot positions as roles as receivers, and they'll complement a receiving core that I think has some good size and speed that made a contribution later in the season to us where you can kind of see what they were capable of doing. So, and the big question that we have is who's going to be the quarterback. We got 3 guys bidding for the position. Paul McIntosh has 9 games starting experience for us, so he has the number 1 spot, but he's being pushed very hard by Corey Faulkner and A.J. Hill, who transferred from Northern Illinois, who's the brother of Nick Hill, who was a quarterback here a number of years ago. So, offensively, we feel that, talent-wise, we have a pretty good combination. What we need to do is find our identity early, what we do well, and make sure that we do it very well on a consistent basis. Defensively, we have good numbers returning defensively. That was an area that we probably got the most banged up last year, so therefore now we have some young players that were forced to play. They have some experience coming back, which really gives us good quality depth. We have 2 starters returning on the defensive line of our 3-4 system, so we feel good about the experience factor coming back up front. Our linebacker core, which is the key to the 3-4, we got 3 of the 4 starters returning there that have good game experience, have had some big play capabilities for us. And then in the secondary, where we really got decimated last year, we got a number of guys coming back that have played a lot of football for us, and probably the key guy for us is Mike McElroy returning at the safety position, and he's the quarterback on defense for us, and we did miss him last year as far as making sure everyone was lined up correctly and getting us in the right defensive checks. So, that's the defensive side. Special teams, we do have Austin Puchalowski returning as our punter, who we think really has the potential to be a very good punter. And then we do have to replace our kicker, Kyle Dougherty, who was a 4-year kicker for us. So we'll have a new guy stepping in and taking that role. So that's probably the one area that is the biggest question right now as far as who that guy will be. We got an incoming freshman that we think can be pretty good. We got a guy in camp that had a very solid spring. So we'll just kind of sort that out through the pre-fall.
Great. Thank you, Coach. Let's go ahead and open up for some questions for Coach Dale Lennon.
To ask a question, please press star 1. Your first question comes from the line of Craig Haley with the Sports Network.
Hi, Coach. How are you?
I'm doing good, Craig. Thanks.
Coach Bowl just kind of reflected on just the league, how many good runners there are. I call it a throwback league. Can you talk about that, just the hard-nosed style? It's not just spreading teams out like other leagues.
Well, when you can run the football, and even your spread teams, that's the one thing that they talk about. They still need to be able to run the football, and it may not be a run-first mentality, but, I do think the Missouri Valley has a little more of a run-first mentality. You can control a tempo of a game if you're capable of doing that, and I think just because of where we live, too, the weather's always going to be a factor in the games, and especially late season. I think that's where you really do see the big physical teams step forward and kind of have the upper hand when it comes to trying to make some postseason runs. So, I think college football, the key is still running the football.
Thank you, Coach.
Your next question comes from the line of Jeff Kolpak with Fargo Forum.
Dale, last year obviously wasn't the norm for one of your coach teams. Was it mainly injuries, or was it anything else?
Well, I don't know what anything else is. Our problem last year, we weren't a consistent football team, and a lot of that had to deal with injuries, and, you're just trying to find the right chemistry. There's a lot of things that go into it, a lot of things that were happening here at Southern Illinois, even moving into new facilities. I mean, there was just, this last year was a year of change for us, as it seemed, and we never quite got the right feel every week, and you look at our schedule, we ended up winning games to Northern Iowa and Western Illinois, the top two teams in the league, and there just was such inconsistency on the season. That was probably the most disappointing part of it, and that's what our focus is going into this year. We need to be a more consistent football team year in, year out. My first 2 years in 08 and 09, I mean, we knew what type of game we needed to play, and we were capable of going out and doing that, and that's what we got to try to match here in 2011.
Okay, thanks.
Your next question comes from the line of Zach Kirker with WFMBAM.
Coach, to piggyback that question a little bit, obviously that season last year, not exactly what you guys are used to, but does that serve a purpose in helping to focus the program moving forward, knowing that you don't want to experience the same sort of, failure compared to what the program's been used to the last several handful of years?
But no doubt, and that's the one thing we take a lot of pride here at SIU as far as what we had accomplished, and 7 straight years making the playoffs, the conference championships. So that's something that's weighed heavy, on the coaching staff and the players. That we've had a good off season. We're doing the little things right. And we want to put ourselves in position to make another title run, and the league, though, people wonder what happened. Well, the league's pretty good. You just don't have an off week at any point in time, and when you do go play a league team, it's going to be a battle. It's going to be very physical. You're going to have guys get dinged up, and that's where depth, I think, probably is the most critical factor for a team to go through this league. Is you got to have quality players at the number 1 and number 2 spots.
Thanks, Coach.
Your next question comes from the line of Todd Hefferman with the Southern Illinoisan.
Hey, Coach.
Hey, Doc.
I got 2 questions for you. The first, everyone's talked about it is a very physical league. How difficult would it be to try to make the playoffs if you had 2 FBS teams on your schedule?
Well, anytime, the non-conference games, I'll put it this way, Todd, it's important for you to have a winning record in your non-conference games. I think if you don't, you really limit your potential. Most teams have 1 FBS team and then 2 FCS teams, and those 2 games that you play at the FCS level, those are games that can determine whether or not you make the playoffs, and to play 2 FBS, it does put you at risk. Now you've got to have a very successful conference run, which is always, your main objective is to win the conference, but it's a challenge. So my whole thing is you better have a winning record with your non-conference schedule.
Now, last year turnovers were a problem for you, and you can't. I don't know if you can really do anything on offense to limit those, but forcing turnovers defensively, do you feel better about your team's chances to do that this year?
Well, that's part of the youthfulness. If you look back on the stats, the stats were kind of confusing. We were young. We had a lot of different people playing, but when you look at the league totals, Missouri Valley, we led the league in total defense, but we were towards the last in turnovers. So we were kind of going through a growth process. I think with the number of people returning now, we can be more aggressive in our defensive schemes, and that's the one thing that we'll be concentrating is doing our defensive pressures, doing them better, more efficiently, and making sure that our assignment percentages are higher. So, we went back and looked at everything that we've done, and, a big part of what we got to do better is just, be more football savvy in what we're asking the players to do.
Thanks.
And, Coach, that was your last question in the queue. Thanks for your time this morning, and good luck this season.
All right. Thanks, guys.